Welcome to Convocation as we mark the start of this academic year. I'm Reverend Jacquelina Marquez, Dean of Religious and Spiritual Life. And before I give today's invocation, I would like to introduce the Wellesley College Choir, directed by Lisa Graham, who will lead us in singing the Alma Mater. Please stand and remain standing after the Alma Mater. Thank you.
Changeful sky and blue above her, wake ye birds, your chorus wake. We'll sing her praises now and ever. Blessed fount of truth and love, our heart's devotion may it never faithless serve her, humblest, highest, noblest all, a stainless name we will preserve her, answer to her every call.
Please remain standing for just one moment longer. Thank you, that was beautiful. As part of our invocation, it is my custom to invite those gathered to share a sign of peace with one another. That sign of peace could be a handshake, a hug, a fist bump, a wave, but take a moment to turn those to those near you and just share a sign of peace before sitting down. Thank you. Thank you. You may be seated. Friends, it is my privilege to offer today's invocation as we celebrate the beginning of a new academic season. We come to this place from many religious and spiritual traditions and no religious tradition. We are all invited to share together, each in our own way, in a moment of reflection and joyous thanksgiving for the journey that has brought us together to this place, in this time, and for a common purpose. We are in the presence of our Creator, in the presence of our ancestors, and among friends in a caring community. Sacred source of all that is good and beautiful and true, we pause to give thanks for lives that will be transformed this year through knowledge acquired and relationships gained. We ask your presence with us as we walk into this new season, unsure of what lies ahead and yet trusting that you go before us. May our journey into this next chapter together at Wellesley College be blessed with creativity and hope and a generous heart towards your beloved creation. May we encourage one another as we pursue dreams, seek adventure, accept new responsibilities, and discover more about our common human experience. May we take time this year to stop and listen deeply to those around us, to see one another, to look for those on the margins, and to invite them into the heart of our community. As we gather in peace, we remember those who are near or far, for whom peace is only an elusive hope, and we entrust them to you. Speak to us, we ask, from our many faith practices, religions, spiritual and philosophical traditions. Remind us of the ancient guidance you have entrusted us with, in order that we may be agents of healing and restoration in the world. God of all time and all places, be with us in this time and in this place. Amen. It is now my pleasure to introduce Wellesley College President Paula A. Johnson.
Thank you and welcome, Reverend Dean Marquez. Good afternoon. Thank you. Faculty, students, and staff, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to campus at the start of Wellesley's 145th year. Yes. A special welcome to the incoming Yellow class of 2023. To our 7 new Davis Scholars and our 9 transfer students. What a journey you are beginning, and we are so excited for you. Welcome to our new faculty, to our new administrative and union members, and a heartfelt welcome back to all of our returning students. To the powerful purple class of 2022. To the great green class of 2021. And last, but far from least, the remarkable red class of 2020. Amazing. 3 years ago, we began our Wellesley journey together. What a road you have traveled since. I am so proud of who you've become and who you are becoming. May this final Wellesley year be your best yet. With the start of this new academic year, we all share the excitement of what comes with new beginnings. At the same time, it's impossible to ignore some of the darkness that surrounds us. Never in my lifetime have I felt that democracy was more at risk. Now, injustice is nothing new to the United States. Indeed, it was present at the nation's establishment, written into our most cherished founding documents. But still, for most of my life, I've been confident that we were headed in the right direction. That, to paraphrase Martin Luther King Jr., the long arc of the moral universe was bending towards justice. Recently, however, that conviction has begun to waver. Just this summer, we've witnessed white supremacy on the rise and efforts to shut down the U.S. border, a gun violence epidemic, curtailment of women's rights to reproductive health care, attacks on science and scientific research, including efforts to address climate change, an ongoing assault on the free press, and sadly, so much more. Now, Convocation is a time of celebration and optimism, and I sense this spirit strongly as well. Yet as I sat down to prepare these remarks, I felt that there was a need to acknowledge the gathering storm clouds, to reconcile what we do on campus with what goes on outside of it, to ask how our work at Wellesley College advances larger commitments. I've been thinking about these issues for some time now. Last spring, I was invited to speak at a summit on how higher education serves the public good. The allotted time, no more than 15 minutes. My first reaction was, are you kidding? I could talk about this for hours and still not cover the essentials. Higher education serves such a vast array of public goods, preparing students to make a living and be of service in the world, advancing the frontiers of knowledge, cultivating an appreciation for universal truths and beauty, and the list goes on. Clearly, I would need to focus. Of the vast array of goods that I might talk about, which should I choose? I thought about the mission of Wellesley College to provide an excellent liberal arts education to women who make a difference in the world. I thought about the state of this world with its conflicts and divisions. And I thought about the brilliance gathered here, your great minds and your great hearts, the vast potential in each of you just waiting to be unlocked. In these unfolding thoughts, I finally found my answer. Of all the goods that we serve, none is more important than fostering the capacity to bridge divides of politics, race, gender, economic class, immigration status, and all of the fault lines of the 21st century. This is an essential tool of leadership and the foundation of democracy. It will go far to determine what the future looks like. And it's here that I found more hope. For all the injustices of today, we are not without power. Quite the contrary. In 1932, U.S. Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis coined the phrase, laboratories of democracy. It refers to a system where states conduct experiments as test grounds for the nation at large. Today, I believe that communities like ours have a similar role to play. As a residential liberal arts college, we are uniquely positioned to explore how to bridge human differences. To answer this momentous question posed by writer Claudia Rankine, how can I say this so we can stay in this car together? Just look around you. Our community is wonderfully diverse in so many ways, yet day after day, we come together on this beautiful campus, united in our commitment to Wellesley's mission. For students, this experience is particularly rich. You just don't see each other in class and then go your separate ways. For 4 years, you will live together and eat together, study and work together. This is an enormous opportunity. We can seek not to mirror the world, but to be a beacon for it. In a prescient essay, Wellesley's second president, the remarkable Alice Freeman Palmer, spoke of the power of friendship with people very different from ourselves, of the wealth that lies in differences. More than 100 years later, this vision is still with us, yet it's so easy to squander this wealth rather than mine its riches. How can we more fully access the gifts of our differences? How can we bridge divides, not tumble into them? This is an urgent question. Of all the world's greatest challenges, from environment to education, from poverty to pandemics, to shoring up democratic institutions, this will all require us to come together as never before, across disciplines, across interests, across identities. Yet this won't happen automatically. It requires skills and strategies that must be learned and practiced. It is not something you can or should be expected to achieve alone. It requires what we might call a curriculum of connection. Now, this phrase may be new, but the idea isn't. Indeed, it's evolving across campus, thanks to the vision and work of so many of you. To cite just a few examples, at the institutional level, it's been advanced by our Task Force on Speech and Inclusion, which submitted its recommendations to me last spring. The need to build trust and connection across difference, both large and small, was at the core of their proposals. I hope you'll take some time to consider them if you haven't already. I first shared them with the Wellesley community last May. I also linked to them in my welcome back letter of last week, and will send them out again shortly. On the academic front, faculty are seeking and finding powerful, innovative strategies to get more students talking and working together. The $1 million Inclusive Excellence Grants from the Howard Hughes Medical Institute has funded the development of inclusive science pedagogy and advising, while the Calderwood Seminars program in public writing help students translate their academic expertise into far more accessible language. Beyond the classroom, our newly redesigned residential curriculum leverages the unique growth opportunities that come with living in community, truly an unparalleled context for exploring how to align one's life with big abstract values such as social justice, compassion, and inclusion. Finally, forging productive connections will also be central to the development of our strategic plan, a process that's just getting underway and about which you'll hear much more. To be clear, the curriculum of connection doesn't seek to erase conflict, nothing of the sort. Conflict is its subject, the locus of learning. In the eloquent words of former President Diana Chapman Walsh, it takes up conflicts in ways that turns them into crucibles for learning. That said, we must stay ever mindful of the bigger picture. In the heat of conflict, we must not lose sight of all that unites us. First and foremost, our shared values. As a community, we're committed to the search for truth through evidence-based research, and we embrace the principle of freedom in scholarly inquiry. As a community, we aspire to build a world where every person is valued and heard, and everyone can contribute, where everyone has a chance to thrive and to reach their full potential. And as a community, we believe that each one of us is called to make a difference in the world, both on the Wellesley campus and far beyond it. These principles must remain ever in the foreground. Even as we seek to make Wellesley better, we must also meet our responsibilities to the larger world. Shortly after her 2018 election to the Massachusetts House of Representatives, someone asked community activist Liz Miranda, class of 2002, what advice she'd give her Wellesley student self. And she responded, I would tell her to be more of a bridge. If I had learned to be a better bridge, I would have impacted so many more people who came from varying points of view and lifestyles. I would tell her to be more of a bridge. These words have stayed with me, and today I challenge each one of you, each one of us, to commit to this endeavor, to be that bridge, to both study and teach the curriculum of connection. This is not the work of a day or of a year. It's a project that runs throughout Wellesley's history. In every conflict, every dispute lies an opportunity. Differences can tear us apart or they can make us stronger, but only if we learn to use them wisely, to listen to each other, to assume the best, to seek out common ground, to be that bridge. This is a personal triumph and a fundamental public good, and it is the greatest gift we can give each other and the greatest gift we can give the world. Thank you. Thank you. And now, Provost Andy Shannon.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andy Shannon. I'm the Provost. It is a privilege, always, to welcome back to campus my colleagues in the faculty and the administration. It's a pleasure to welcome the members of the new Yellow class of 2023, to welcome back the classes of 2022 and 2021, and above all, hail to the red class of 2020, resplendent in the academic gowns that you will wear at commencement next spring. Although Convocation marks the beginning of the new academic year, it's also an occasion to consider the ways that the past has shaped our college and to reflect on what brings us here together on this beautiful afternoon. So in that spirit, I've been reflecting on last May's commencement, which I know some of you attended, and I hope others were able to watch. We heard wonderful and inspirational speeches from our president and from our commencement speaker, Anita Hill. But I'm sure President Johnson and Professor Hill won't mind my saying that a particular highlight of the 2019 commencement was a truly memorable student speech delivered by senior Kavindya Thenakun. Kavi's speech was so powerful and impassioned that it immediately brought to mind the very first student speech delivered at a Wellesley commencement, the one that Hillary Rodham delivered in 1969. And that comparison, in turn, got me thinking about these two moments in history, two moments 50 years apart, two moments of turmoil and transition in the world beyond Wellesley, but also playing out on our campus. 50 years ago, Hillary spoke immediately after, and in her words, in reaction to, a commencement address delivered by a sitting US senator. She cast herself as the spokesperson, not just of her Wellesley class, but of her generation. We're not in the positions yet of leadership and power, she said, but we do have that indispensable element of criticizing and constructive protest. Hillary reflected on the efforts that she and her classmates had made to reform Wellesley. She reminisced about the expectations that her class had had when they arrived here and the organizing and protest that had been needed to bring reality into closer alignment with those expectations. Their questioning had been directed first at their Wellesley education, including, yes, the Wellesley grading system. Some things never change. But it also had a broader focus. They were criticizing, Hillary was criticizing in her speech, the values of the society beyond campus, the prevailing acquisitive and competitive corporate life of America, her words, on the cusp of the 1970s. The tone of Hillary's speech was more overtly political and less personal than Kavi's. Hillary said very little about herself or her friends. Kavi told us about her family, about how she came to make the 8,578-mile trip to Wellesley, about the daily experiences of her classmates, their emotional lives, as well as their academic experience. But actually, I don't want to make too much of the contrast in tone. To some extent, it may just reflect an evolution in our culture. I think we are, in general, more comfortable sharing or listening to personal experiences in public settings than people were 50 years ago. If Hillary were to deliver her speech now, perhaps she would give it a more personal tone, as indeed she did in 2017, when she returned to give the commencement address here. More importantly, though, differences in tone obscure an underlying similarity in the message. Kavi's speech may not have laid out a generational agenda in quite the same way that Hillary's did, but it was a political speech. In almost her first words, she told us about her mother in Sri Lanka, who was unable to come to campus last May because she had been denied a visa by the US government. She went on to highlight some of the issues of equity and inclusion that shaped her classmates' efforts to reform Wellesley and bring their expectations into alignment with reality. For example, she spoke about her first-generation siblings who played on an uneven playing field, who, as she put it, listened to our peers discuss citation styles with their parents while we were too busy discussing the best way to send money home so that our parents could pay the rent. She urged her class to transform the communities that they came from and to mobilize, again in her words, for the rights of our trans siblings across the world. I think these two speeches perhaps get to the heart of Wellesley. We are deeply rooted in our sense of purpose, social purpose, educational purpose. We are deeply rooted in this place. We are deeply rooted in our past and in our values. We are rooted, but we are restless. Our mission is fundamentally about liberation. Our founder called higher education for women one of the great world battle cries for freedom. So how can we ever be merely satisfied? There is always more to do. There is always a gap between our aspiration and our reality. And that gap is what drives us forward as an institution. And as an institution, we face changes and challenges today that rival those of 50 years ago. Perceptions of liberal arts education and its value, the expectations that students, parents, and the public have of a residential liberal arts college have shifted markedly over time. The world of work that you are graduates, or graduates-to-be, will enter after college has changed. So many aspects of our culture, for example, the role that technology plays in our lives, or our understandings of gender, have been transformed. With so much shifting in the external environment, this is the necessary moment to look at ourselves, to envision our future together, and to develop a plan to help us get there. As you heard just a minute ago from the President, that is what she is charging us to do through a year-long process of strategic planning. She has urged us to identify the strategies that, as she has said, preserve the best of Wellesley and also prepare us to move boldly into the future. How do we thread that needle? We need to ask the real questions, and we need to acknowledge that we will not all have the same answers to them. If we truly push ourselves to think differently about Wellesley, about liberal arts education, about the world that we are educating students for, we are bound to contemplate changes that for some will cross a line. A field of study or a program or a policy that some among us will view as outdated or dispensable will seem to others the best of Wellesley to be preserved at all costs. When should we double down on what we have done in the past? And when should we evolve in a new direction? This is, to me, the critical question. There is always a kind of creative tension embedded in our effort to plan the future. A tension between the imperative to reimagine the college and the freedom to dissent from those reimaginings. Again, we are rooted and we are restless. As we embark on a year of planning, I can't think of better advice than Kavi's to the class of 2019. She told her classmates, always ask the uncomfortable questions, and not only speak loudly, but listen boldly. Whether you're in your first year at Wellesley, your second year at Wellesley, your third year at Wellesley, your fourth year at Wellesley, or like me, your 32nd year at Wellesley, let's make it a year in which we ask uncomfortable questions and listen boldly. Let's listen boldly to one another. Let's listen boldly to the promptings of our past. And let's listen boldly to our still unfulfilled aspirations for our future. Thank you. Now it is my great pleasure to introduce the President of College Government, Diana Lamb.
Thank you, Provost Shannon. Hello, President Johnson, esteemed faculty, staff, and of course, fellow students. My name is Diana Lamb, a member of class of 2020, and I am this year's college government president. Wow. It is an honor to be here. And by here, I mean not just here behind this podium, but here at Wellesley College. 5 years ago, I sat alone in my dining room table and combed through different college catalogs and websites. Terms like liberal arts college or need buy an admission were all very, very new to me. But like any other first-gen kid, I persisted with the help of the internet and my own sheer will. And most importantly, I leaned on the love and support of not just my friends and my classmates, but of my teachers and my mentors, and also of my family. They not only guided me through the college application process, but they also made these past 3 years at Wellesley possible. They were and still are my community. The first ones to fill me up with boba, not bubble tea, and dim sum, brush away insecurities and imposter syndrome, and give me a hand when change, failure, and mistakes inevitably occur. They're also the ones that have let me laugh my big laugh, that look out for discounts at the local lookout farm so I can live my apple-picking dreams, and of course, help me lug my 4 storage bins every single year. My community, whether it is off campus or on campus, in-state or out-of-state, alumni or peer, they are the ones that truly demonstrate that I stand on the shoulders of giants. And that's the reason why I feel so honored to be here now. At the same time, I'm also cognizant that people find community in different ways. However, as we start a new year, I hope that we can both take ownership of the Wellesley College community together. Oftentimes, we engage in conversations that reference the Wellesley community without stopping to acknowledge that we are indeed members of Wellesley. This is a feat that only a few have the privilege to live, and the opportunity to be in community with each other on this beautiful campus is something that we should relish. Having a sense of community is important because it helps us see that we are a part of something greater than just ourselves, and that together we truly can thrive. So let's take a second to acknowledge that and work together to build the community that we want to see and engage in. Today, I'd like to share a habit of something that I've always leaned on to build community, which is the practice, very simply, of saying thank you. So, thank you to my friends for tolerating my love for California and my zest for good avocados. Thank you for showing me how to buy a true New England coat and for helping me lace up my first pair of snow boots. I would not have survived 3 winters if not for you. Thank you to my peers for inspiring me with your thoughts about and your insight during classroom discussions. You've really opened my eyes in a way that I would not have been able to see if not for your courage to share your own experiences and your own personal hopes and dreams. Thank you for trusting me with your vulnerability. Thank you also to, of course, the younger siblings, the ones who still glisten in their eyes when they look at Lake Waban or see a fresh syllabus, or of course, see the many tubs of ice cream in our dining halls. Thank you for reminding me to be my age, 20 years old, not 25. And of course, thank you to my teachers, especially the ones who grade very quickly, for sending me news articles and for sharing stories that have shaped me in ways that I'm not even sure that they understand. Thank you to my mentors in career education and civic engagement for giving me hope and belief in myself. You've given me the courage to dream of not just seeing into conference rooms where change happens, but one day being a part of them, and perhaps even one day leading them. Thank you, of course, to college government, Dean Horn and Dean Bate, for helping me shoulder some very large responsibilities and for giving me the space to make mistakes. I hope I can lead our team well this year. And thank you also to Kenny, our college government godfather, and other staff members for making the spaces where we find community not just safe, but also very, very comfortable. And finally, thank you to my family, to my siblings, Frida, Frank, and Nancy. Thank you for fielding my numerous and inevitable calls home, and for always being open to my questions and my doubts. To my grandparents and relatives, thank you so much for letting me dream big and encouraging me to dream wide. And the biggest thank you of all goes to my mom and dad for having the courage to endure immigration and the Vietnam War, all in the hopes of the American dream. A dream that has oftentimes given our family more pain than hope, but has nonetheless inspired me to be a better person and to do better every single day. And because my mom is actually in the audience right now, and my father, that really wasn't planned. Because my mom is in the audience today, and because my dad, I'm sure, will be watching many recordings of this to come, I'll say this directly to them. Ma, ba, 嘎们 Joyce 啊，谢谢你，我真的爱你不得了。I started this habit of saying thank you when I found myself being lost in the grand word of Wellesley student. Reminding myself of what I have and what I have done has reminded me that there is value in all experiences, no matter if they are good or bad. While success gives you pleasure, failure helps you learn and grow. Gratitude finds meaning in both. Therefore, after convocation, I encourage you to take a few minutes to think about who or what communities have helped you get here today, to the start of a brand new school year at Wellesley College. Furthermore, after today is over, I encourage you to continue to rely on these gratitude practices to help build community, because gratitude helps us see that our Wellesley community is not just something to be fixed, but rather something that could be strengthened. And as we include the first day of classes, let's not forget the freshness and the privilege of being here, students at Wellesley College. Let's never forget that we are here not only because of our own efforts, but also because of our communities. And let's not forget what it means to be a community member as well. And start this school year with something as simple as a thank you. Thank you, everyone. It's my honor now to introduce my dear friend and colleague, cabinet member, and everything in between, your Chief Justice, Nemo Suleiman.
Thank you. Thank you, Diana. My name is Nemo Suleiman, class of 2020, and I'm your Chief Justice. Thank you. It is my distinct pleasure to be standing in front of you today. The Honor Code is at the heart of Wellesley's mission as a liberal arts institution. In the words of my predecessor, Maya Nandakumar, it is the foundation of all teaching, learning, and community living on this campus. We don't define the values of the Honor Code. Nobody tells you what honesty, integrity, or respect means here. It is open to individual interpretation, which is something that is impacted by culture, religion, and circumstance, among other things. I think this is actually a strength of the Honor Code, because as a result, the Honor Code is a conversational and dynamic piece. I'd like to focus on one of the values of the Honor Code today, and that is respect. I firmly believe in the power of respect, and I think that it is essential to create a sustainable and loving community at Wellesley and beyond. I define respect for myself in two dimensions. One, the respect that I have for myself, and two, the respect that I have for others. I believe that it's hard to fully respect others without actually respecting yourself first and foremost. For me, respecting myself means knowing my boundaries and clearly communicating them to others. It also means forgiving myself and allowing room for growth. I came to Wellesley as a relatively clueless first year. I had a lot of experience. I had grown up outside of the United States, so that international experience was there. I was first gen and the first person in my family to apply to and go to college. But there was a lot of things I did not know about. And as receptive as I was to learning and growing, I struggled with the fact that sometimes the space to learn and grow was not actually available for me at Wellesley. There was an expectation that I already knew a lot of things and that I had a more nuanced grasp of ideas and concepts than I actually did. I've seen the same thing happen to many individuals in my time here. And that is something that I really hope we can work on changing together this year. We have all made mistakes, and we will continue to make them. We have said the wrong thing at the wrong time, and I hope that the next time that happens, we can respect ourselves enough to acknowledge our mistakes and take the time to understand where we are on our growth and development journey and intentionally commit to change. I hope that we can also respect each other enough to give each other the space to grow and develop. With that, I would like to leave you with a quote from the late comedian Charlie Murphy that I'm trying to live by, and that is, "I respect everybody. You don't have to earn my respect. You earn my disrespect." I like that. I hope you will join me now in the ceremonial recitation of the Honor Code, which you can find on the bottom left corner of the program. Yeah? As a Wellesley College student, I will act with honesty, integrity, and respect. In making this commitment, I am accountable to the community and dedicate myself to a life of honor. Thank you. Okay. Now, please stand for America the Beautiful, penned by Wellesley's own Catherine Lee Bates, and then the benediction. Sierra Chelly Colandro, class of 2020, will lead us in singing America the Beautiful.
Mountains
friends, as we walk away from this gathering into a fresh academic season, may we go as knowers and seekers, open to what lies ahead. May we go as creators and builders who know that we can construct far more together than we can ever do alone. And may we go, now more than ever, committed to sharing peace with those around us and far from us. Go forth and continue the unending work of justice, peace, and love in this community and beyond.